Yeah.
This book was
But
banned.
I'm not the only one. I'm sure there were other guys. They banned it in the sense that the book in itself was subversive. So I added just a fun part to it, that they couldn't decide what was poetry or petrol bomb, so they banned it.
Black Voices Shout was banned. Okay. South Africans, this book was banned. Okay. This book
Was the first one.
was banned. What else? Pass Me a Meatball Jones. This book was also banned. So, but this is the book that you wrote when you were in prison.
Yeah.
For 6 months you were in prison, and then you wrote this book.
Those were the poems I wrote while I was in detention. And it came out, and subsequently it was banned again. Same pattern 2 weeks after it came out. My daughter Terry came to visit with my youngest, or oldest, or youngest at that stage, grandchild, and I have a chance to slip poems that I've written into my grandson's nappy, and that's how it went out. Poets form a comradeship to work because we're fighting. So it wasn't like a big deal. We didn't regard it a big deal. We're just fighting the system. We don't want to make this thing that you're so noble and all that bullshit. What we wrote, particularly dissident poets and others, we expect the system to get at us. We expect that we will be prison, and with some, we expect to die. Let me read you a very short excerpt, the forward that Wallace wrote, and we've known each other for years and years. James Matthews has always known that it is when we do that we nurture wisdom, and so the seasoned man that he is now, he walks the land with his voice, looking this and that way, and sharing with us what he has gathered, what he knows, what he ponders, including that death is nothing. It is not something to be feared. We must speak to it.
What is a dissident poet?
Well, as I explained earlier, a dissident poet, his main aim, only aim, is to fight the state through his works.
Okay.
And I think I made it clear that I'm not writing, I don't see my poetry as a form of art. I think we went beyond just using the term protest. For us, protest is passive. That's why we term ourselves as dissident. We're fighting. If you write a poem that has no fire attacking the system, then for me it's a passive poem. Like I'll just give you, if I can remember, a rage sharp as a blade, to cut and slash, to spill blood, for the blood spilled over 300 years. That is a dissident poem. I could never write a poem about dawn, or bird in flight, or flowers blooming. When I look at people maimed, shackled, jailed, the meaning is now clear. I shan't write a poem that does not include what had happened to us. Well, you move on. 2000, I brought out a mixed collection called Flames and Flowers, which contained half of the poetry was political and the other half was love poetry. That is why I did write Age is a Beautiful Face. And then after that, I brought out a new book published by Rhodes University called Gently Stirs My Soul. This is from my collection of love poetry, and also it is my favorite poem. I am flushed with the lushness of love, embracing me as I sit at the cold hearth of loneliness. Loneliness masquerading as exuberance, shield for my pain. Images in my eyes are dead dreams, engraved in my heart. Dead dreams now resurrected by the lushness of love. My brittle spirit strengthened to traverse the desolated plains of isolation, to reach the well of delight, where I will be welcomed by myriads of butterflies and a chorus of nightingales. I will live out my time with the beloved newly found, my being flushed with the lushness of love.
Thank you and good afternoon. Feels more like evening. That was a Kiluba children's song about ladling bananas at the foot of the pineapple tree. It's a very fruity song for children. I hope you enjoyed that. This is aBantu chorus, opening our voices to song. We now welcome Ngululeko Dyantyis to lead us in Vumani Ngoma, a song composed by his cousin, uZikhona. Thank you so much. Vumani Ngoma.
He says he loves us.
That was a medley of things, Sotho, Zulu, Xhosa. Hope you enjoyed it. Next up, we have two poets, Siphokazi Jonas and Eloghosa Osunde. Please welcome them on stage. Thanks so much.
Birthright. I received the things my grandmothers left for me in a dream. Mother and father have gardening. I have poems, rent, and no land. Omakulu show me how to soften poems for digestion, sorting and soaking beans and samp overnight. One grandmother winnows my words with wind. The other treats my mouth ulcers with courage. Look at all these pages. I am heir to women who bore the weight of the river on their heads without spilling. Kwathi ke kaloku ngantsomi. Kwathi ke kaloku ngantsomi. A woman gave birth one night in a village. In those days, women delivered their offspring quickly, but this child was so stubborn that she took a week to make her appearance. The village women who assisted in the birthing hut noticed strange unfoldings during the labor. Firstly, the womb waters flowed from mother in a stream that went out of the doorway. The youngest woman was sent to follow and see where the waters led, and she returned to report that the stream had reached the banks of the great river and disappeared. The girl then emerged with a cry which sounded more like a lamenting widow than a newborn. But what frosted the hearts of the women with fear was the absence of an umbilical cord. Those with delicate knees were ready to escape the hut, but they paused at the warning of grandmother, who reminded them that women must protect each other's secrets for their survival. And so they cast their wisdom into the hearth, contemplating how they could fulfill birthing rituals ngaphandle kwengaba. Firstly and finally, they agreed to make an incision on the baby's navel with a stalk of grass and to let it bleed over a slab of mimosa bark. They hoped it would eventually heal to look like any other navel scar to the villagers. The bark was buried where mother had labored, and she was allowed to wash herself and the girl over the spot. The women returned to their homes carrying the silence of that night. Back in the hut, the girl would not cease her crying. Yet, paid actor, yet she refused mother's milk. As midnight stretched its limbs over the homestead, her tears were interrupted by Ixhalanga landing in the doorway. Its wings and silhouette cast a shadow into the hut. Whose child is this whose crying disturbs the waters and could wake the dead? He inquired, peering at the infant. Lusana lwam, replied mother, clutching her daughter closer as if to ward off death, which often follows a visitation yeXhalanga. Ulambile kodwa wala ibele. This strange thing disturbs the waters with her tears, and she will trouble the land too if you do not amend the events of this night. Reaching deep into his feathers, he pulled out a clay pot and gave it to mother. Here, rub this paste on her navel every day after bathing, and sing this song while you do, but do not let anyone hear you. Uvelaphi lo? Yo. Uzelwe ngenankaba? Yo. Kwazi bani? Kwazi unina. Uthi ngowam lo, ngegazi namanzi nomoya wena ungowam? Yo. Over time, her scar will change appearance, and even the women who were here will doubt what their eyes witnessed tonight. Do this until the girl turns 7, and the change will be permanent. Do not let anyone besides you, your mother, and your husband touch this paste. And on her 7th birthday, all of you will lose the memory of this ritual. Take care of this pot. If it breaks, what will unfold can never be undone. Ixhalanga took off without another word for the stunned women. Mother followed umthetho weXhalanga, and it was as he had promised. Soon the time arrived for them to end their isolation and for the family to introduce the girl to their forebearers so they could give her a name. Father selected the fattest goat for the ceremony, while mother and baby made their way to the great river. There she smeared mud on the child's heart and feet, as was the custom. Unbeknown to her, as they were returning to the village, the river scrambled up the bank and followed them. Mother sang to the girl in her best vai-vai, and the water would rise and tickle the baby's feet until it was breathless with laughter. Hearing this, mother sang even louder, believing her songs were the cause of her daughter's mirth. But the river stopped just outside the village. Abuyela umva amanzi, and her laughter ceased. Yafika imini enkulu. A flame of celebration spread from one homestead to the next. The acceptance and naming of a child was always an important occasion. It signaled the future security and prosperity of the village. Mother's body was covered ngembola ebomvu. Her face and daughter's body smeared ngemhlophe. Then a woman carried the girl to the kraal where father and other men waited to begin introductions. When the sacrificial goat saw the girl in the woman's arms, it suddenly slipped out of father's hands and ran towards her. Father fell forward to catch it, but the goat bucked and stabbed his thigh with its horn. The other man jumped up just as the goat leaned forward. It sniffed at the girl's stomach gently, then bellowed, and the sound could be heard around the village. Then the goat returned to the center of the kraal and stood still next to father without prompting. Isimanga zendo. No one had ever witnessed or heard of such a thing before. And this sparked an argument between those who sought to consult diviners and those who were happy to continue the ceremony since the girl had not been harmed. Eventually, the men decided they would postpone the event to see what the future revealed about the girl. And while the village waited, she would be known as Olinde Ukutiwa. Disaster arrived on an unassuming day, as most days are. The village had returned to normal, and all gossip about the naming ceremony had died down. In the girl's 7th year, la chona ilanga kumakhulu, leaving a great absence in her beloved granddaughter. The only thing that could comfort the family was the approach of Ulinde Ukutiwa's 7th birthday and the promised end of a healing ritual that she had known from birth. She knew the song well and would hum it to herself sometimes while playing with other children. But she had been taught never to let anyone know the truth. And she would brush her friends off when they asked. One day, while father was supervising the herd at the cattle dip and mother was bartering in the next village, she and her best friend were hard at work trying to invent new games. Hayi Oli, her best friend grumbled. Kudala sidlala undize. Futhi wena uzimela kwindawo enye qho ndidikiwe mna. Olinde Ukutiwa thought very, very hard. She could not afford to lose her best friend to boredom. But there were no new games left, she mused. But perhaps, if she promised to show her friend something, and if she could keep it a secret, it would make their day more exciting. Promises were asked for and given. Then the pair sneaked into the old birthing hut. Olinde Ukutiwa pulled out a paint bucket, turned it upside down, and climbed up to reach for the clay pot in its hidden place. Yeah! Hey! Before her friend could warn her, the bucket slipped out from under her and the pot fell from her hands, spilling what remained of the paste on the dung-smeared floor. In the neighboring village, mother felt her womb seize in pain. She dropped everything and rushed home as fast as she could, while the women at the market watched in surprise. Father was brought to his knees when the old wound in his thigh flared up stronger than it usually did in winter. He left the village boys with supervision of the herd while he limped home. As they came closer to the village, both were terrified by the black clouds billowing above their homestead. Phela phela ngantsomi.
Hello. My name is Eloghosa Osunde. Thank you so much for being here. I will be reading one piece of text and then after that performing a tiny piece of music. Are you okay with that? Cool. The last time Mfon heard her mother's voice, she was a teenager, terrified of losing God. But enough time had passed since the day her father decided he didn't want a daughter whose heart could do wild things like love girls, and her mother had stayed silent. Over his dead body was he going to have a child with such a defect, he said. A glitch in the head, clearly not biological, clearly not from his side of the family. A disownment then, and why not? He was the adult, no? Adults do what they like because children can't say nothing. So, out into the streets, go, for effect, spit. The father voice saying, I don't care where you go, you rotten thing. The mother voice sirening, all that begging with her tired parents' eyes, unbearable, really. It hurt Mfon like an ended world. But even through silence, through choice, not every love leaves your body. Mfon's father was a ghost to her the moment he twisted that lock. But in order to forget each other, Mfon and her mother both knew they would need to delete their navels, those everlasting reminders of where it all started. And neither of them could. Every night, Mfon's mother prayed. She prayed for God to straighten Mfon, to turn every curve into a line. She toiled on that floor and her missing was enormous. She wondered about Mfon often. Who was this girl, anyway? A girl who could look them in the eye and not repent? Yes, they had sent her away, but only expecting it to teach her that she had it better than most people, that she should be grateful for the cushion they had provided from the harshness of life outside. They wanted her to know that the least she owed them for the middle-class bubble they had raised her in, the least she owed them was normalcy. They wanted her to return repentant, a promising prodigal. But a year passed, and they grew scared. A girl who could last this long outside of home and not come crawling back? A girl who might as well slap God by dishonoring her parents and misusing her heart? Whose child was this? God was love, Mfon's father had said before he shut the door, answering the only question Mfon asked with tears in her eyes. Yes, dear. God is love, but not this kind. Why wouldn't she listen? When she's ready to come back to her senses, Mfon's father told his crying wife, we will know. She knows what to text me, or you. She knows what the conditions are. We have to stand as a unit, you know. Stop this crying. Time will cure her of this madness. Time passed, flying flamboyantly between them as they prayed that something, one thing, anything, would break Mfon open and bring her home. Humble her, God, break her pride. Mfon did break. But when she did, when she lost it, when she was passing out in clubs, when she was coming apart at the seams, she had way more than cruel streets. She had homes open to her with love, friends with couches, spare bedrooms, and free food. She had Kiki, the friend turned lover, turned everything, who would crack the world in two to make her okay, to see her be well. Kiki, who held her through crucial highs and come downs, through the dark coming for her core. Kiki, who widened her sense of wonder, who loved her like that quote they had read, in a way that let her be free. Mfon fell asleep to Kiki reading her Arinze Fiakandu's story, God's Children Are Little Broken Things. While sleeping, she had a familiar, recurring dream in which she was making dinner, always making dinner, jollof rice, because that is the daughter her mother wanted, and opened the door to her mother's smiling face. Over dinner in the dream, her mother asked the same question. So, have you met someone? Mfon says yes with tears in her eyes. The air is often kinder in dreams, so she opens up. Yes, she says, the person is everything. Patient, kind, 1 Corinthians 13. We don't even fight the way you and Daddy always did. This person loves me, sleeps next to me because they want to. Doesn't make me feel like a stain. It feels like hope. I can lean against this person and not find myself on the floor. Imagine, we can even have voices at the same time. Isn't that what you wanted from me? Where is he? Her mother asks, clearly proud. Mfon replies, Mommy. She. In every dream before this one, Mfon had dreamed the same heart-saving outcome, where her mother wrapped an arm around her saying, okay, where is she? That ending was what had helped her hold together this long. It was her hope. But this ending was different. In this dream, her mother's face is more aged, more stern. She says, why do you keep doing this to me? Why can't you just do this one thing for your family? Even in the dream, Mfon doesn't know how to say, because in this fantasy of yours where your daughter gets married to a man she doesn't love to prove that she loves you, my head comes off and I meet the end of my heart. You can't tell the difference from where you're standing, but that's not me walking toward the aisle in that scenario. That's a corpse. There's no easy way to explain this, so she keeps quiet instead. But this is also an answer. Well, her mother says in her real voice, without the filter of nostalgia, you have chosen. Then she carries her bag and gets up. Take care, she says. I'll be praying for you. Mfon wakes up just then. Kiki is fast asleep next to her, so she sits up, scanning her body for sadness. There isn't any. Instead, she finds questions. Can I go on if this dream is the real one? If they never accept? Is this enough for me? A life with this woman asleep next to me? Do I give myself permission to dream other dreams? And her answer, after careful thinking, is simply, yes. Because the dream was an echo of reality. Her family had chosen, and so had she. And look, despite it all, she had made a good life. A new life in which she didn't have to suffer in those old ways. In this second life, she was safe and in love, free from the first and its brutal texture. Yes, she thought, because she didn't gift herself this second childhood, this new chance just to have the new one also be violent. Yes, she thought again. Yes, this is my life. This is my life. This is my life. And that was what did it. Thank you. Okay. So I'm just going to sing to you, and if you want to join in, it's literally 2 lines. If you want to join in at any point, please feel free. Take your own advice. Take your own advice. Take your own advice. Take your own advice. You're allowed to be alive. You're allowed to be alive. You're allowed to be alive. Allowed to be alive. Take your own advice. Take your own advice. Take your own advice. Take your own advice. You're allowed to be alive. 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 You're allowed to be alive.
Thank you to Siphokazi Jonas and Eloghosa Osunde. We now gather our voices with aBantu chorus again with a song firstly to Nqangi, the creator of all things, the one who begins all things, nature herself. Thank you.
We've been through a lot. We've been through a lot. We've been through it all in Africa. And we pray to Nqangi. We've been through a lot. We've been through it all in Africa. And we pray to Nqangi.
Ndikhumbula ukuzana naye, engumhlobo wenhliziyo. 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 Ndikhumbula ukuzana naye, engumhlobo wenyaniso. Ndikhumbula ukuzana naye, engumhlobo wekwenene. Ndikhumbula ukuzana naye, engumhlobo wenhliziyo. Ndikhumbula ukuzana naye, engumhlobo wenyaniso. Ndikhumbula ukuzana naye, engumhlobo wekwenene. Zumbet uzakushiya. Sudlale naye nokubanjwa kukufanele. Zumizeni ihlale thetha naye. Zumizeni ihlale thetha naye. Luthando. Zumbet uzakushiya. Sudlale naye nokubanjwa kukufanele. Zumizeni ihlale thetha naye. Zumizeni ihlale thetha naye. Luthando. Daliwemna, 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 daliwemna. Zosugandina, daliwemna, daliwemna. Daliwemna, daliwemna.
Thank you. So that was a sad tale about gender-based violence in our times. And so now we welcome a poet once again on stage as aBantu Chorus says goodbye for a minute, and they'll be back to do 2 songs at the end. Thanks so much. On stage now, we're joined by Zizipho Bam. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Someone said, happy birthday, when are you releasing your next book? Thank you. Pretty black girls. Black girls are told to stop walking around grinding pebbles in their mouths. They are told to smile. Nobody wants a pretty black girl with a sad face. Black girls get warned about their pretty faces, how their smiles can be magnets to the monsters of the wild. They are told to be careful. That pretty face doesn't lead you into the woods. Nobody wants a pretty girl with a lost face. Black girls are told to cover up the pretty face, to pluck, cunt, and contour the pretty face like a cover girl, but not too fake. Nobody wants a pretty black girl with a boring face. Black girls are told everything but how pretty they are. Nobody wants a pretty black girl who knows it. But where I'm from, to be a woman in this country is to wear your tough skin on the outside every day. It's to show up with your guard up, with your guilt in places, to guide your fears to the back room, or to stay in your yard instead. To be a black woman from this country is to belong someplace where you are not the perfect sketch. To be a woman from this country is to be bruised every day. Is to wear the weapon and the band-aid, is to become the stitching tool at the emergency table, or to bleed quietly. To belong to this country is to heal inside the fire and turmoil. To look for a place that does not bleed or burn or want to throw you into the coal as sacrifice, or to play dead instead. To belong to this country is to belong someplace other than here, someplace where you are not the perfect sketch, not real and resisting, not radical and resting, someplace where your rights do not matter. To be a woman from this country is to be strange. This is a suicide alert poem. It's called Blackburn, South Point Student Accommodation. Strange things have grown out of the ground. Stranger things have fallen from the sky. A garden sprouts from a single seed, or a figure offers itself into the air. Is it possible for a flower to grow inward, like the place we go to hide within ourselves? Are there gardens we have grown only for our hearts to grieve in, where nobody else enters but our fears and folds? A story of love and courage is such sacrifice. Marks our lives meaningful when we stare at all we have left with our heads behind our necks. Makes our feet forget when we are facing ourselves upside down and dangling. I believe She felt the ground was too heavy for her. I think she knew she could fly elsewhere and never return. I know all she wanted was to be as light as air. Perhaps to find it, she had to give herself to the sky. Thank you.
Yaphuma inqila aphuma amadoda eyokuzingela inyamakazi sitsho ke ngoku uba unendlebe unetyala ukutsho ukuthi this is a folk song, a Xhosa folk song about hunting, and it's about bringing the hunt home with a third of a celebration. It's a contingent of men that have gone out and they've come back with the hunt. So please enjoy the song.
Go, siyathandaza sithi kamata kamata kamata
Izwele Afrika liyajabalana siyathandaza sithi kamata 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 Izwele Afrika liyajabalala siyathandaza sithi kamata kamata kamata
Kalamaqela amaqobokasa lebekutaphe leqinisela
Inkosi. Inkosi Maqela. Inkosi bantu bakwethu. This is a composition by Zolani Mfihlo. Zolani, will you step forward, please? Yeah. Yeah, and it is a song about committing the state of our continent, our home, our motherland, to the Creator. So thank you so much for listening. We are going to go off stage, but there's been a request by a poet to come back and read a poem of theirs that they feel is related to the song. So let's see if Zizipho will join us. Thank you.
I know what it feels like to be empty. I have felt the gruesome stare of insufficiency. It has burrowed holes deep enough to accept this nothingness you have claimed for me. I know the cracking voice of poverty. I can tell the rising inflictions of pity in your questions, and no, I do not need a breaking down of my shortfalls. I have collapsed enough empires to know how far up my spine stretches, how low into the soil my roots dig, and how many borders my blood has crossed, only to spill on the other side of the globe. I have not come for that. There's a song at the bottom of my belly humming itself into a thunderstorm. I am a natural disaster of rage. I have drowned in the Nile of my tears each time you dared to call me third world greedy, each time you beat your drum. My arid hills cracked open like the pores of my sub-Saharan surface. The muscles of my Victoria snapped and tore. Brittle and old have become of my bones. You have drunk me empty. You have preached a false hope to my people. Your kind of Judas sold me nothing but dreams with starving children on postcards. You have romanticized my ruggedness, called my pigment primitive, and lured my people into your machines, seamless or perfectly sealed. You cannot erase the smell of incense from our memory. My courage is a boiling pot of herbs to cure the vanity you have drilled in me. I am washing away the pain you have felt for me. I have come to gather the last of my unwritten suffering. I have come to collect the remains of my people. I have come to collect the stories you have tried to tell on my behalf. From now on, clap it out if you still cannot pronounce my clan names, but do not call our father the man in the green blanket. There's more to us than that. My tongue is a wave. Each time I want to speak, the Tina River of my Xhosa is washed out by the Pacific Ocean English I have been taught to swim in. I am drowning. There is no Zulu or Sotho or Pedi word for life jacket in the Pacific. I have no name here. You turn my ancestors inside out and turn them into cloaks of burden from my shoulders. I have grown sores on the mountains of my back because of this war with myself. I have written this poem into eternity for your children's children to meet with the truth, but you have failed to read between the lines. You have forgotten much too early for your kind. So I'm saving this last ounce of brewing courage to boil myself a pot of herbs and drink from the cup of justice, to save myself from you, to save myself and this country a reincarnation, to live here, to be here, to die here. Home.